Good evening, true believers. If you were expecting the Tau 10th edition update, it's still coming. I'll get there. I got into the field manual that came out yesterday. I got into it in the morning, and I saw the new points, and it stopped me in my tracks. I'd been humming along nicely. I was making all those update videos because they were fun. They were fun videos to make, and I was pretty pumped up for 10th edition. And then the points came out, and I stopped. And my first reaction to the new points layout, I got to tell you, that reaction was negative. I had a negative reaction to reading the new points layout, and I had to take a step back. I have a rule on StarCrunch YouTube channel where I don't make any videos dedicated to bitching about Games Workshop. There's tons of that content out there. There's tons of people who are complaining about Games Workshop every single day. You can find those videos, and I don't need that to be my channel at all. I want to be good vibes and positive energy and the bright side of things. The world needs more bright side, man. People are suffering. Bright side is the thing to do. And also, no matter how upset you get about what's going on in the world of your plastic spacemen, they're still just plastic spacemen. I am a person who is blessed enough to live in a time and a place where I get to play plastic spacemen. And no matter how that manifests in my life, I still always have to consider myself to be lucky. So I took the day off, and I got stoned, and I watched some nature videos. I went to bed early, got some sleep that I needed. And I woke up this morning, and executive producer Brian Lord had hit me up, and he had hit me with some positive waves. Good vibes, good energy. Everybody needs a friend like that. And so now I want to come into it. I want to talk about it, and I do have to talk about it in the negative a little bit, but I want to get something out of it, a lesson to learn, maybe a step into the future. So we're going to talk about it. I don't know where to start. I don't know if there's going to be I don't know what the linear path of this is. I don't know if any of these points should be put in front of the other, so we're just going to go. The first thing that I was bothered by is I felt a little bamboozled. When they first started promoting 10th edition, there was an article that came out on like the community site where they were like, we're getting rid of power level because nobody liked it. And then the community, like the Reddit community at least, was like, well, cool. Nobody liked power level anyway. And power level was a thing for a few years. I never once played a game with power level. Not once. Because power level was stupid, right? And so I get into the field, man, the field guide, the points that just came out. I opened it up, and it didn't take me long to realize that what they've done is they've tried to trick me into not noticing that they've reduced it down to just power level. Take the new points, take the digit that's furthest to the right, cut it off. It's power level. We are back to power level. And I don't like that. I felt a little bamboozled. Also, I can't help but to feel the hand of the businessman. The new kids won't remember the Chapter House lawsuit. I remember the Chapter House lawsuit well, because when that was going on, I bought some bits from Chapter House. If Commander Starcrunch himself ever makes it to the table, his head comes from Chapter House. But when Chapter House lawsuit happened, Games Workshop found out that all of their content, all of the things that they own, were not quite as copyrightable as they think they are, because Games Workshop kind of plagiarized most of their stuff. Anyway, Dune, Starship Troopers, Alien, Games Workshop has its place where it's pinched its ideas from. And Chapter House kind of exposed that. And so Games Workshop, they come out soon afterwards, and it's now they're going to try to copyright everything and protect all of their stuff legally. And of course, you can't blame them, I guess. But that's when orcs become Oryx. That's when the Eldar become the Eldari. With the Dark Eldar become the Drakari. They started, putting these labels on everything. And it kind of grew from there. In the meantime, Chapter House was one of the beginnings of the third-party manufacturers, but now there's tons of them. There's tons of third-party manufacturers everywhere. And now that 3D printing exists, everyone is a third-party manufacturer. Now that 3D printing exists, anybody can make bits when they want to. And I feel that Chapter House lawsuit in the way the new points are set up and the way the new rules are set up, where just like they wanted to crush Chapter House, now they want to crush all the other third-party manufacturers, 3D printers, by we're only going to have rules for what's in the box, and you will have no reason to buy other bits. You will have no reason to have a 3D printer, because if you've bought the box originally, well, there's nothing else you need. So this is all business strategy. This is all to please the rich men at the top. This isn't to please the gamers or the community. This is to please the man. And if you get into Google and you Google who owns Games Workshop, it's a bunch of like brokerage firms and marketing firms and like the stock market people, the old white people who do not play Warhammer. The people who are at the top of the company are the money people. They don't play. It's all about making that money. And so the company is motivated just to please those people to make that money and to make sure no slice of their pie goes anywhere else, like a third-party manufacturer, like the 3D printing community. And so that's what I see the rule set moving into now. They want everything to be only what they sell, only the way they sell it, to make sure you don't have any reasons to spend money on anything else. And I hate it. I absolutely hate it. For a couple reasons. One, I am so sick of the world I'm living in being made worse and worse all the time for the sake of old rich men's yacht money. It drives me crazy. I see it everywhere I go. And Warhammer is like my place to escape the reality of the world. And when I see the corruption of capital in my game system, which is essentially what Games Workshop is, it hurts me the same way I see it at my own job and any other business I frequent. The only thing that seems to be important is old rich guys' yacht money. And what the consumer wants or what the worker wants always seems to be irrelevant. So that hurts me. But the other thing that hurts me, and what actually led me to making the video and having something to say about it, is Warhammer today is not the game that was sold to me 12, 13 years ago. It is not at all the same. And I invested into the game. I am all in on the game. I have a YouTube channel about the game, for Pete's sakes. I'm clearly all in on this, but this is not the game that was sold to me. The game that was sold to me was a strategy game, of course, but it was also the playground for my imagination. I was a creator too. I was a writer. I had stories to tell. I got to make my people, and that's what the game was. And like a long time ago, like I started about a year before Blackreach, and at that point, the nuance of the game, the depth of the game, had everything to do with your army build. And the greater army rules, they existed, but they were small. And they, rather than being these big, all-encompassing, play styles, they were more like things that buffed all units. Back in the day, Space Marines got, and they shall know no fear. So each unit of Space Marines doesn't have to take a morale check, right? Today, the Custodies get the Marshal Catans. I know they're probably different in 10th edition, but in 9th edition, what a nightmare that mess was. But all the stupid little army rules, all the philosophies of war and protocols for AdMech and all that, that's all just to hide the fact that they've taken options away from the army builds. And that's not the game that was sold to me. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, just real quick. This is Commander Starcrunch. He's been Commander Starcrunch since I got him. He is before they made the big plastic commander kit, there was this Finecast one came out for about a year, and that's what he is. But his head came from Chapter House. It was made of metal. And he's seen better days. He's seen a ton of action. And we stopped playing Greyhammer. We won't play with anything that's not painted. And he was never painted. And then also he's hit his antennas busted, his arms busted. It's here. I got different jump packs I'm putting on him, and Anyway, as much as I've wanted to save him from the channel, God knows when he will ever show up. But this head is from Chapter House Studios. A little bit of history. But this is what I'm talking about. Way back in the day, you had options. You had a ton of options. And it wasn't just options for like what you were going to do on the tabletop. It was options for who your people were. And Games Workshop sold you, like, they would sell you a model, but maybe they didn't sell you the model with all the options you wanted, but still the options were there. So you could get into another kit, take that bit out of that kit, or cut somebody's arm off and add it to the dude you wanted. And you would have options. And it was one of the, like, kit bashing, like making somebody your own, saying, this is what I want my guy to be. And I'm going to take this model and I'm going to cut his arm off. And I'm going to take this other model, I'm going to cut his arm off, and I'm going to add them together. And I'm going to pose it in a certain way. And this is my guy. He's my guy because I made it that way. And in order to have that experience, you have to have options. So say it's old school. This is, God, what is this? 5th edition, maybe? 4th or 5th. Say you're building your captain. Well, maybe he's your chapter master, but maybe he's just your captain. And do you want him to have a jump pack? Do you want him to be on a bike? Those are options. Do you want him to be in Terminator armor? Those are options. But then there's all this other stuff. Give him a grenade launcher. Hellfire rounds. There's no model for Hellfire rounds. There's no model for the bullets that go in his gun, but it's an option you could take to give him more personality, to make him more yours. And if you want that option, it costs 10 points, because nothing is free, but you get choices for your guy to make him original. Maybe it's the guy that you want. Maybe it's, who knows what you specifically want, but you should be able to do it. Digital weapons were like a ring with a laser in it, a weapon on his finger, on his digit. You could give him melta bombs, artificial armor, all the weapons you want. It was your choice. And then from this, he was balanced by points. And if you made him just the bossest dude ever, he was gonna be expensive. And the whole book's like this. The whole book has options. Everything has options. Tac squads are much the same, except for nowadays you need to take them in 10. I don't know why. Let me show you something else. Old school Tau stuff. Where is it? There's something specific I'm looking for, though. Ejection system. Let's find that. This system provides the pilot a chance of escaping catastrophic damage to his battlesuit. Should the character lose his last wound to the shooting attack that does not cause instant death, the battlesuit is replaced with a single model representing the pilot. The profile of this model is the same as before the pilot ejected, less 2 strength, 1 toughness, and it has 1 wound and no armor save. It is equipped with a pulse pistol only. You could give your guy an ejection suit, and of course there's no ejection suit written on the model, but it gives you a chance to make the pilot of your suit, to build him as just a regular Tau, like somebody out of the Pathfinder kit or something, and you give him a pistol, and your man dies, but oh wait, no he doesn't, he's still on the field, and he's just one man to lead your forces, and that's cool. It's cool that you can do that, but of course, there's no model for that, and you're not going to get anything like that in New Games Workshop. You had all these choices, these, where it says hardwired, where's that? Hardwired was for when you didn't have it on the model. If you didn't have the bit to show it, you say, oh, it's hardwired. And anyway, you get to build your stuff to be cool. You get to make it to be your own. And that's the game that was sold to me. And as we move into 10th edition, I am sad for the loss of this. But we have moved into 10th edition. This is lost now, and so we have to move on. So now I feel it's time. I must get to the point. Warhammer 40,000 is the community. It is the hub of the tabletop wheel, where everybody finds Warhammer first, and then they might move on to other systems, other things to find. But if you go talk tabletop games with people, you're probably going to talk Warhammer. And even if you're talking about different tabletop games, if you're trying to find common ground in that conversation, a new conversation with a new person, Warhammer is a language that you will both speak. You will be able to compare your different game systems to Warhammer. Warhammer is the biggest. It's going to stay the biggest. And I don't want it to not be the biggest. There are things that I would like Games Workshop to do differently, of course. But I do want a successful Games Workshop. I do like how they protect the IP so much, even though I think they're assholes about it. I do not like their business model, but there's things about them I love. They do make my favorite models. Do they make the best models? I don't know. Almost. But they do make some of my favorite models, right? And then the lore, I'm all in on it. I spend my day working at a restaurant making Warhammer stories in my mind all day long. I'm all in on Warhammer. I'm going to get my first game of 10th edition in on Wednesday. You can expect a 10th edition battle report coming out soon. I have like one or two in the pipe before I film the next one. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll have 10th edition battle reports up. But as everything I've said previously in the video, Warhammer's not scratching every itch I have anymore. It's not. There are things I want out of these games that current Warhammer is not giving me. Like, if you ask me why I want to be a Warhammer YouTuber, it's not because I want to, I don't know why other people do it. I don't know what motivates people to do it. But for me, it's that I want my part of the Warhammer universe to be just as significant, as important as, the canon Warhammer stuff. Even though I heard Luton say once, it's all canon, just not all of it is true. But I want Captain Orpington and Captain Lord to just be just as important as Captain Sicarius. And Rumble. Dude, Rumble is cooler than Grozkul, and Rumble is cooler than Tuska Demon Killer. Rumble is the coolest war boss in the galaxy. And I don't want him to, just be in my table. I want him to be in the greater universe. I want people to know his name, and I want to tell those stories. And I feel like the current game system isn't conducive to storytelling. It is more a game. And that's fine. I'm fine with that. Because things can't be the way I want it forever. I understand that Games Workshop as a business wants to appeal to a mass audience, wants to bring in as many people as possible. Let's make it as easy as we can. I also understand in the modern world as a business, Games Workshop measures its success by how much money it makes or does not make. And even though philosophically I feel crummy about that too, that's the world I'm living in. It's their game. They get to do with it what they want. And I don't want to not be a part of it just because I'm not happy with some of their choices. Particularly because, as of right now, there's a game club in my town. There's never been a game club in my town. And right now, I can walk to a place and say, hey, can I get a game? And there are people there to play with. That's never happened before, and it's new. And I haven't gone down there to play yet, but 10th edition's about to happen. I'm going to learn the rules, and I'm going to show up, and there's going to be this language that the people there speak, that I speak. We all know how to play the game, and it's because it's Warhammer. And because Warhammer is so big, I know there will be people there to play it and to do it. However, I have a creative itch that I need scratched. And so I do have to reach for other things. There are a couple of rule sets that have come out recently. One is called One Page Rules, and I'm sure you've heard of it. I have not spent much time with it at all. I have read about it. But apparently people love it. Apparently a lot of people are very happy with One Page Rules. I moved to a different direction because One Page Rules is, first of all, it's already very successful. And secondly, it's catering to the 3D printing community, which I'm not a part of. But there is a different rule set called War Surge that I've gotten really into. I've actually fallen in love with it, but it's very small. I don't think many people know about it. And I'm going to show it to you in just a second. Something I'd like to point out is that One Page Rules is a very small group of people, and War Surge, I believe, is just 3 people. And they've made really wonderful rule sets. And the War Surge rule set is very smart, but also it comes with an app that is also really well done. And I can't help but to think that, I get on Reddit and I see people talking about how Games Workshop's made a mistake, or they're incompetent, or they don't love it, or they put the wrong people in charge. And I disagree. I think Games Workshop does everything exactly as they mean to. And something that makes me feel that way is these other smaller companies that are just a few dudes are doing it so much better. And it's because they're trying to make the best rule set, and Games Workshop is trying to set up the next sale. And that is a big difference. But I would like to share War Surge with you if you don't mind. This is the War Surge app. It costs me $1 a month, but you can buy it outright for less than $20. And it's wonderful, and I love it. And what this is it's a miniature agnostic war game with a unit generator. And the app is mostly the unit generator. But something of note, if you go to units, you can go to imports, and you can go to the fan site, where the company can't own it because Games Workshop could sue them. So they have their fans do this work. So you can go here to Warhammer 40,000. And you can find their pre-builds for Warhammer factions. These are all very reminiscent of 7th edition, but they are starting points. And the QR codes are here, and you would copy and paste the QR codes into here. You paste them, and then you can import pre-existing army lists that are already built for you, and they're good starting points. So I'm going to grab my rosters, and I have tons of them because I play this all the time, and I will go to the Evil Sons. I would need to bring my Evil Sons, and so I had to write lists for them. And but the War Surge lists have boys at toughness 4. I liked them being at toughness 5. And because it's complete freedom, I got to just make them toughness 5, and then their points went up. And then some units get a presence, which is a table-wide aura, or think of it as like an army rule. And some units get an aura, which is like a bubble around them, like you know. You grab the perk for it, and the perk will cost money, but it will also raise the points of everything else on your list to account for them getting the bonuses for it. It's I'm not a competitive guy. I really would like to know how this holds up competitively. But you have complete freedom on who you build here. And it's an absolute joy to work with. Another thing of note is you can add limitations to units, things that make them worse and bring their points back down. The rule system itself, the game rules are very easy, but complexity can be added as you wish with what you want. The game exists on a single die roll for the attack, but if you're used to Warhammer where you roll the hit and you roll the wound, you add an aim or an accuracy to your character, and then they have to make that separate roll, and it brings their points down. This is my Rogue Trader crew that I've been working on. I can't wait to play them in the game, because they get to be exactly who I want them to be. If I want to bring Captain Wallenberg in 40K right now, I have to use the Lucinda Vane rules for him. It breaks my heart. It's not who he is. But if I bring him in War Surge, he's got dodge and a smoke screen, and he's lucky, and he can put a jinx on you, and he's got a couple of boss pistols, and he's everything I want him to be. So yeah, current 40K is not filling every need that I have, but it doesn't mean that those needs can't be met, because there are tons of other systems out there that I can bring my models over to. So going forward, is 10th edition everything I want Warhammer to be? No, not at all. But I'm still going to play it once a week. You can expect a Warhammer 40,000 10th edition battle report out of me every weekend from now until I die. I won't always be able to pull it off, but that's the intent. I want to be part of the Warhammer community as a whole. I want to be able to walk down to my new local game club and say, I speak the same language you speak, and I'm going to play this game with you and make friends and roll dice. And Warhammer doesn't have to be what I need it to be, because Warhammer just needs to be. However, being somebody who wants to tell stories with toys and dice, Warhammer is not filling that need. So I'm going to try real hard to embrace War Surge. And I have a hard enough time getting one battle report a week out, but I'm going to try really hard to make 2. And don't make me stick to this just yet. I don't know how I'm going to make it work. But ideally, in a perfect world where I can burn down the restaurant and never have to go to a blue-collar job again, I would put out a Warhammer Battle Report every weekend and a War Surge Battle Report like every Wednesday. And I would like to be able to compare the 2 games. And one of them will be, here I am part of the bigger community. I'm playing Warhammer, and we can all speak the same language and be friends together and go into the future where we all play games together as a group. And then on the other hand, I have another game where I get to be creative and tell the stories I want to tell with the characters I want to play with. And I also get to support a very small business, some small dudes with a small company just starting out who have a product that I believe in. And that's my intention. That's what I'm doing with 10th edition. That's how I've been feeling the last 24 hours anyway. I don't know if this video helps anybody listening to it. I don't know if it's good for any of you. But happy 10th edition. I will see you there. Please join me when you see a War Surge Battle Report on my channel. Please give it a chance. I know that games that aren't 40K don't do so well on YouTube, but I have high hopes for it because I want to be a narrative player, and it offers me far more narrative options. And expect a game this week. We'll see. Happy 40K, everybody. We are the lucky people. We are fortunate. Not everybody gets to play games, and we do. Have a good day, everybody.